Hello, and welcome back to the Be Productive podcast, a one thing member exclusive podcast. Here we focus on the one thing approach and highlight a different area each week to help you transform how you view, set, and achieve your goals. Through our proven approach, we help you take your big dreams and break them down into smaller goals and activities. And through regular adjustments along the way, you can achieve anything that you want in life. Each week on the Be Productive podcast, we support you in keeping on track and motivated to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. And I am so excited to have Mark Donahue here with us today. We're going to talk about when sticking to your habits becomes difficult. So, Mark, we're getting ready to kick off our next 66-day habit challenge with the One Thing community on June 5th. And while we think about 66 days maybe doesn't seem that long, when you get a few weeks in, it can really start to be hard to stick to our habits. So why do you think that is?
I think it's two things, actually, Brooke. In my experience, there's been the two main culprits that knocked me off the wagon. Number one has been the monotony, like the boredom of doing the same thing over and over for 66 days, right? So I heard once someone say that in order to be really successful, we have to make peace with the boredom that comes from mastery. So if we learn that early on, that the newness, the sexiness, the shininess is going to wear off, and we just got to just keep moving the ball forward. It really makes that a lot easier. So that's, I think, the number one thing. The second thing I think is the environment. Like is our environment supporting us? Now, environment can be a lot of different things. It could be the specific location where we then go do the activity. It could be the people inside of that activity. It could be tons of different like influences on our thought process. Is what are we listening to? What's the new show that's distracting us? Are we introducing something new to environment that it's actually taking us away? So, or are we not even clear when we set the habit up where we will go do the habit so that way we're most successful? A lot of my challenge has come, I'm just going to be willy nilly and I'll just do it wherever, whenever. And man, that is a recipe for me for disaster every single time. So the environment, I think, is really important too.
Yeah, I like what you said about environment, because I think that comes up really soon in the 66 days, because like you said, it's like, oh, I got this big shiny new thing and I'm going to go after it and I'm just going to do it wherever, whenever, and around whoever. But if we don't stop and actually think about how the environment is set up to support us, we might find that it's hard to stick to it. I remember I did a habit challenge a while back to do kettlebells every day. And I
Cowbell?
remember kettlebells.
Oh, kettlebells.
Kettlebells.
I knew what you said.
And I actually had them in my office. So I was thinking, oh, yeah, in between calls or in between working on a project, I'll go do my kettlebells. Well, I discovered after working with my accountability partner, when I was like, oh, I kept forgetting to do it, was that the time that I needed to do it was after work. And where I typically was after work was not in my office. So I needed to put them in the other room that I would spend the time in after I closed the office door. So have you had any experiences like that where you've come to an aha moment and said, my environment needs to change?
Yeah, for sure. Like where I tend to want the environment that tends to be the most productive for me is the bathroom. Now, this sounds weird, but here's what I mean. I brush my teeth every single day. Like usually it's twice a day, but sometimes I'm going to be honest, it's once. The truth is, though, is that I always reach for my toothbrush when I go to the bathroom, when I go in my bathroom in the morning. So if it had something to do around like looking at my 401 every single day, I've learned that if I can leverage the routine that I already have established around my morning routine, like when I reach for the toothbrush and I put my toothbrush down, there's my 401. I can now pick that back up. So that environment, it's free of lots of distractions. Usually the door's closed. Like my kids aren't interrupting me at that time. Like by being that intentional and stacking this into where there are already other habits involved or that are really well established, it has made it so easy for me to form habits when I can start with that trigger in that specific environment.
Yeah, and I think that's something that comes up so often, especially with my coaching clients, is figure out what are the things that you do every single day without thinking about it. What are the habits that you've already established, especially the ones that start in the morning and the ones
Mhm.
that close you out at the end of the day. So one of my clients is on a 66-day challenge to journal every day. And when she was struggling with it, we figured out if she just put it next to her bed at night, when she got into bed, there it was. Habit stacking, go ahead and do the journal. So yeah. And I think there's other sides of the environment too that we don't think about is if we're trying to do something like meditate or do something that's related to our spirituality or calming the mind, if
Mm.
we're in a space where we're surrounded by bright red walls or flashing lights or something that is complete opposite of being in that state of calm and relaxation, it's going to get in our way. It's going to be hard to form the habit. So great idea to, focus on the environment. I want to take us back to what you said about the monotony of success, because I think
Hmm.
that this comes in a little bit later on in the habit formation process. So, talk a little bit more about how this has shown up for you or what you've seen with your clients.
Well, as you start to, what for me happens is I start to feel like I'm winning. I'm starting to feel like I already have success, or I may have formed this habit, and therefore I want to make it greater. I want to make it bigger, right? And what's true is no, no, no. Keep it a very small habit. Keep it where you can really ingrain this in who you are. Where I want to go is because I'm like, okay, if for instance, the habit that I'm going to start to form on this next journey is, can I just journal one word? I got this idea from John Schumacher Shoes in our organization because I was doing really well, lots of benefits that I find in it. And I will say, I'm going to journal one word. Well, eventually I'm like, okay, one word. Like I've been doing this now for 35 days or 50 days. Like I've got it. I'm going to move that. No, 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 no. Just write one word. And if you can do one, you always earn the right to go more. But I want to then instinctively, the high achiever me comes on and says, no, 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 you like it should be greater. You should be one paragraph. You've earned the right to go there. No, I haven't. Like stay small, stay on task, finish the habit, complete it all the way through, and it might take you longer before you actually move that target and allow it to be something grander or sexier. And now, can I write a full page? Can I complete a thought? Can I what? Keep it really really small. Stay with the process. It's going to become really really boring over time, and that there'll be days that you're like, man, my environment was to do it at this time, at this place, and I didn't do that. And so one word's going to save me, right? If I can get that one in, I keep moving forward. And then eventually what we know is this becomes less about doing the behavior and keeping the string of checks moving forward. And there's some satisfaction we get around, I've got that X for the day. I've checked the box. I've earned the right to say I was successful that day.
Yeah. And I also think too, when we get to that place of the shiny new object
Mm-hmm.
syndrome is wearing off, that it's important to create new ways to reward ourselves. So if
Yeah.
you're, 33 days in and you're at this point where it's like, one word a day, this is really boring. I'm kind of getting tired of this. Well, if you do one word a day for every day for 5 days, what can you do at the end of the week to reward yourself? Can you go out and get ice cream, or buy yourself a new journal, or maybe something that creates that dopamine boost that you
Mm-hmm.
were getting at the beginning of the habit challenge.
Yep. Yeah, that was something that you brought up recently, and I say recently, last several months, that by bringing in has helped me a lot in some of these habit formation challenges because I would tend to think that the only reward was the benefit of the habit. And yet, what I know about myself is I am the kind of person who really appreciates those victories along the way. And when I don't give myself them, I tend to feel more like blah. And yet when we had this conversation the first time, I was like, this is brilliant, man. And it can be so small, right? Sometimes it is ice cream. It is, hey, we're gonna go out to dinner because it's been 2 months, it's been 60 days, we're almost there, 35 days. And we're gonna celebrate that. That's the gap, that's the gain mentality we talk about a lot. So it's a great call, great weapon in the arsenal.
Yeah, and you just brought something else to my mind, is that we're kind of tying this all together with environment, the people that you surround yourself with, and giving yourself rewards, and the people who
Mm-hmm.
are a part of you. Because even if you're doing the challenge on your own, there are people in your world who are a part of this challenge with you, whether they want to be or not. And that kind of leads us into the last point that I wanted to get to, is the number one thing that you can do to really stick with your habit is to have good accountability. So when you're thinking about the people in your world, you can bring them along on this journey with you and ask them to hold you accountable. Like I know, Mark, number one core value for Mark Donahue is fun.
That's right,
And
baby.
so with your two young kids, you do a lot of these types of rewards things like, hey, kids, help me to remember to do this thing every day because after 20 days, we're going to do this as a family. After 40 days, we're going to do this as a family. So, Mark, what are some other ways that people can utilize accountability either from their own circle or outside of the people that are naturally within their sphere?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing is that 66 day challenge checklist. The calendar that we have is a free resource. What I do with that is I'll put it on the refrigerator. And so I ask my kids if they will ask me how I did. So that kind of helps me have a reminder. But you can do the same thing even if you don't have kids. Like you can be going on a 66 day challenge and the people that are your colleagues at work that you tend to go to lunch with or whatever that you have a relationship with, set it on the window or sit outside your office and let them ask you about it. Hey, how did you do? I see you're missing some X's here. Have you not just checked the boxes or have you not been doing it? So public accountability inside of some confines of confidentiality is really, really powerful. But I think the best thing to do, Brooke, is to have those people go on a 66-day challenge with you. For instance, and if you guys can go back and see, like my son has gone on several 66-day challenges with me, and his habits might be totally unrelated to a big goal because he's 8, right? When I'm at my stage, I want to be connected to a goal. But like for him, it's like, man, you complete the 66-day challenge, we'll go get you a bow and arrow because he's 8 and he wants to go shoot bows and arrows. Cool. So he does that. And when he's doing it, I'm like, I'm not going to fail in front of my kids and we're walking down this together. So who are those people that you really can enlist their support, whether it's by them asking or them going on the same journey with you, that you then can, like, you can borrow each other's successes and accountability from each other.
Yeah. And I mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to kick off our third 66-day challenge
Mm.
with the One Thing community. That's going to start on June 5th. So if you're listening to this episode, go into the community forum and look for those details. Look for the free training event that we're doing on June 5th, which is the challenge kickoff. And you're going to be in a room with a bunch of other people who are a part of this community who are going on the challenge at the same time. So if you want to enlist an accountability buddy, as I like to call it, that might be a good place to start. And also, the biggest form of accountability that you can have is to enlist a coach. And so, here at the One Thing, we do offer one-on-one coaching, and we're really excited to announce that we have a new 8-week group coaching program
This is
that
awesome.
you can sign up for. And you're in a group of about 10 people, and you go through an 8-week process of setting your goals, designing your action plan, committing to habits, and holding each other accountable right inside of that group coaching forum. So lots of exciting things happening. Mark, anything else that I didn't touch on?
Well, I would just add, we're starting this kickoff on June 6th, and yet if you're listening to this on June 12th, that doesn't mean you can't jump in. So this is going to be built in a way that as whether you join the same day as us or a few days later, we're going to run you from start to finish the whole way through. And you don't have to start on the same day we start. It's more important that you are developing habits than it is that you're doing it with the large group from start to finish at the same time. You can borrow the accountability even if you're a few days behind. It doesn't mean you have to wait until the next 66-day challenge. Jump in right now. Let's go. Let's get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that it's hard. We're going to
Right.
all fall off the wagon at some point or another. And it's okay. If you get 12 days in and you miss a couple of days and you want to start all over, that's perfectly fine. Part of this is about building that muscle of what it takes to become someone who develops these habits over time. So give yourself grace. I think I say that on every episode.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace and just keep trying. Well, everyone, thanks so much for listening. This has been another episode of the Be Productive podcast, where we help you transform how you view, set, and achieve your goals. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, friends.